Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Flags in a Gym, a podcast dedicated to all things color guard. My name is Eric. I'm your host and resident color guard nerd. And in today's episode, you get to meet the man behind your favorite ranking page, bandScores. That's right, I sat down with Mr. bandScores himself, and we talked about his history in the activity, his love of data, unique scoring tidbits from over the years, and we did our own little DCI preview as well. It's a great conversation, so sit back, relax, and let's talk some color guard. Welcome. How are you?
Great. How are you this evening?
I am doing great. Yes, it is an evening. We are recording on a lovely Tuesday night in June. Final week of school here for me. How about you? The areas are you kids still in school there?
Yeah, I think Memorial Day, a lot of them wrapped up. So they've been out a couple weeks now. Yeah. So I'm in the Indianapolis area, and it's kind of like right around, obviously, we have the big Indy 500 here. So around that weekend is kind of like start of summer unofficially here. School wraps up, big race weekend and all that. So yeah, I think the kids have been out of school for a couple weeks. At least I haven't seen school buses in a while. So that usually tells me.
Yeah, I forgot about the Indy 500s. But yes, I do have a very special guest. This is like my first collab episode. We're not really talking to a color guard person, but I am talking to somebody that all of you know very well. You are very interested in his content and get very excited about it when it gets posted. So I am sitting down with Mr. bandScores himself. So go ahead and take a moment to introduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. Hi everyone. My name is David, and yeah, I'm the one and only person behind bandScores. Like I mentioned, I'm from the Indianapolis area. I actually grew up on the East Coast originally, grew up in Connecticut in a kind of medium-sized suburb called Trumbull, about 90 minutes north of New York City. Kind of like everyone else, I'm sure, got into band in middle school, got into the competitive high school band scene, and in high school and did 4 years of high school band, did 3 years of indoor percussion, and then decided I want to continue my marching career after that and did 4 summers of drum corps. So pretty well versed background in the activity. Haven't really done too much since, mostly just been a fan. Shortly after aging out and graduating college, I moved out to Indianapolis. I had a bunch of friends in the area from drum corps that I wanted to live near, and we still talked today and stay in touch and whatnot, which is awesome. And yeah, I've been out here 13 years now. So kind of backstory too, related to my whole bandScores project. Pandemic was a difficult time for everyone, I'm certain. And for me, especially, I actually lost my job during the pandemic and decided to make a career change and went back to school and got a master's in data science and kind of turned that into a whole data analytics career, but then on the side crafted this bandScores project. And ever since it's been just kind of a huge passion project of mine. It's actually a portfolio project too for what I do for my career and what I put in front of employers when I go out and job hunt. Yeah, it's been a whole lot of fun, and I've just been blown away by the reception I've gotten the past few years I've done it and growing the page. So Instagram is probably my biggest source of content, and up to 15,000 followers there, and just never imagined I would ever grow the page to that level. So yeah, it's been an awesome journey ever since.
Every indoor, especially every regional weekend, as soon as you post your rankings, I mean, I'll
Yeah.
see it up like posted 3 minutes ago and it already have like 200 likes on it and all these shares. Like people get
Yeah.
so excited because they want to know where they rank.
Yeah, it's crazy. So during the winter, what I decided a few years ago was I'm going to post seating rankings on Sunday night the moment shows are done. And I know WGI typically waits until Tuesdays and they have their whole process, I'm sure. But yeah, it's just been fun to get a little ahead of that and share. I typically only share the finalists, right? So like top 15 in World and Open and Independent A, and then top 20 in Scholastic A. But then with that too, I have my whole website and all the scores that I host there. And so anyone can find the rankings there. And for that matter too, I keep the site updated throughout show weekends in terms of the moment score, not the exact moment scores are in, but I have some scripts running every half hour or so that's pulling stuff throughout regional weekends and updating the website, which is super cool. So yeah, it's been a lot of work, a lot of fun. I don't cover just WGI. I do BOA and DCI, as I'm sure folks have seen on my page. In fact, DCI season right around the corner. So looking forward to that. But past couple of years, WGI guard for sure has become sort of my main focus and just what has kind of gotten me to where I am today, which is awesome.
Yeah, I love that. You came from Trumbull High School,
I did. Yep.
the iconic Trumbull High School former Scholastic World program.
Yeah, so I'll age myself a bit here. I was in the band program in the mid 2000s. It was a great time to be there. We were a very successful program, which was wonderful to be a part of and just see it continue to rise, both in my time there and after I graduated. Like I said, I was in the percussion program for a couple of seasons, so we did pretty well there too. They were medalists in 2008, 2009. Obviously, a lot of people know about the guard program, and so I think it would have been my junior year was when the Bridge Over Troubled Water show. Yes.
One of my absolute favorites. I love that show
Yeah, it
so
was
much.
so beautiful, and they finished bronze in third place that year. Cheshire too from Connecticut won Scholastic Open, so it was really awesome having one and three from the same state from tiny little Connecticut at the top of Scholastic Open, and then yeah, they were promoted, obviously promoted after that season, and then spent a decade and a half, I guess, in Scholastic World, silver medalists in 2018, which was so awesome to see. I wasn't following guard as closely as I am now, but definitely saw that show flow and was just blown away. And it was so great to see them do well. And then, yeah, unfortunately, like uh, going back to COVID, it took out a lot of band programs around the country and especially up in the Northeast. Like, I don't know the full story, so I don't want to speak with incorrect information, hopefully, but there's a lot of budget cuts and kids doing different activities now. And so yeah, in the case of Trumbull, like a lot of their staff left around that time, and band program is still going strong. It's a lot smaller now, but the drum line still goes out to Dayton, I believe. Guard was there a couple years ago, but they're now in Scholastic A. So it's a little different, but it's great that the program is still running and so much love for that program and the experience it gave me in high school and then what I was able to do after go into drum corps and do awesome things there too.
Trumbull had a great run in color guard. I remember, I think about 2004, I think they might have made finals the first year in Scholastic Open, but that I
Hmm.
remember. And then just, yeah, all those years in World. And I love that they had that signature style of spinning very quickly.
Hmm.
Very handsy, lots of double times and flips. I'm going to find a clip of the Bridge Over Troubled Water show and I'll post it for people to see. One of
Hmm.
my absolute favorite shows. That year in Scholastic Open was crazy because Cheshire won, like you said.
Hmm.
And fun fact, the director of Little Elm High School was in that show.
Hmm.
So she's from that area as well. And then Shenendehowa, iconic guard, was
Hmm.
second place.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So it was a top three all from the Northeast. So yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome.
So that's really cool. And then you got another claim to fame with Connecticut this year with Southington High School winning Scholastic
Yeah.
A.
Yeah. And well, I'll talk a little bit more about them later, but yeah, it was so awesome to see them to win Scholastic A. And then in the manner they did it too was so fun fact, they were the lowest seeded guard in any class, I believe, at least since 2012, because that's as far back as my data goes. But I was able to do sort of the seeding rankings for all the seasons prior and found that Southington, yeah, was ranked like 26 going into Dayton, and no guard had ever like below. I think 19th was the record before that in terms of lowest seeded guard to win any class. So that was spectacular that they pulled
That's
that off. Hmm.
crazy. Yeah. They peaked at the right time. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a long season and they kept
Hmm.
working and working and working and all paid off. So now they get to go up to open class.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how did you get interested into managing all the data and the scores? Like, what attracted you to organizing all these scores and
Yeah.
rankings?
So I'm gonna kind of go a little off subject here into the
Sure.
sports world. Um, I'm a big sports fan, have been for most of my life. Was always, even as a kid growing up, really interested in like sports statistics and data and everything going into that. And in the early 2000s, there was a book that came out called Moneyball, and it was all about the Oakland Athletics baseball team and how they operated the team with it was like the lowest payroll in all of Major League Baseball, and they worked around that by finding guys with unique traits, unique stats that other teams weren't picking up on, and created a really good team with not a lot of money. And it was this huge revolution in baseball. It then trickled down into other sports. So you see like football, hockey, basketball, they all have analytics departments now. And so yeah, I've always had this interest in data. And back when I made this career change in 2020, that's the industry was really picking up then, and I was like, this is the perfect opportunity for me to make a career change. And so yeah, I'm in this world now. And so then how it relates to band, I was the nerdy kid who always looked like in high school and even in drum corps, I guess, like every night look at scores, like where are we ranking? Like what's our what's our recaps looking like? Where's everyone else ranking? And then like even when I was in percussion going into Dayton, I would track scores throughout the season just to see where we were falling. And I know like a lot of staff these days harp like, oh, don't focus on the scores, focus on yourselves. And absolutely that should be number one focus. But I was still just had that huge interest. And then on top of that, so there's some fantastic resources out there in the activity already, especially for drum corps. So there's some other websites called DCX Museum, which they actually just went through a name change. I can't remember what they're called now, but they host a lot of historic drum corps data. It's mostly music rep lists and then also scores. And then another site called From the Press Box, and they're kind of similar, but they just focus on scores and recaps. And again, great resources, but my biggest pain point when using them was they're not like easy to sort through, or like, for example, From the Press Box, so like they have everything split out season by season on different pages. So like if I want to see progression of like this core, how did this core do one year to the next year sort of thing, it was kind of tricky to jump around between pages. And so yeah, I always had this idea in the back of my head of like putting together something a little bit more user friendly in terms of just being able to filter and sort through both historic scores and current season scores. And then between that interest and everything I learned in school and my new career path, that's kind of how it all came together of like, all right, now I'm going to actually grab this data from a bunch of different resources, put it together and throw it up on a website. And I try to, it's a lot of work year round. Again, a lot of fun, but I try to be a resource for every activity in the marching arts. Whereas, like I said, DCX and From the Press Box are just DCI. And then you have Music for All, and the BOA website is a great resource for their historic data. WGI2 has, for the most part, I think, recaps going back to 2019, maybe a little bit later than that. And then they have all the historic score pages as well. So the organizations themselves do a great job of keeping track of that historic data, but I always be one step above that and just be that historic resource for the activity in terms of collecting all this data and making it available to everyone.
Yeah, no, and I get it 100% when I go to WGI site and I want to look at, the 1984 scores, and then you got to go back, look at 1980. You have to open everything up in separate tabs and everything. So yeah, having it in one spot where you can just sort everything. It took me a little while to figure out your interface, just because I'm like, why can't I get this? I'm like, trying to find like a guard name, but I've got to figure it out now. So
Mhm.
I have your site down to a science
Yeah.
now. So obviously you do the rankings, which everyone loves. I mean, that's really what you're known for, but you do so much more. What else is on your website that people can find?
I think I mentioned earlier, all the historic score pages, again, for DCI, BOA, WGI guard, and percussion. Sorry, wins. I'm still still working on your scores and historic data and pages for all that data. And then I always typically throw up a in-season score hub, if you will. So for example, with WGI, and I actually do a lot more with WGI because I will cover WGI regional scores and world championships. And then I'm also covering 50 plus circuits around the country, which is kind of crazy work, but it's been a lot of fun. And I've built some sort of tools and scripts that help me with that in terms of being able to pull stuff from different places. And so yeah, the past few years, so this past season I covered 48 circuits and got over 18,000 scores between
Wow.
percussion, guard, and winds. And then that's up from 16,000, a little over 16,000 the past 2 years, 24, 25. And the thing with the circuits too, it's always interesting to see how those kind of transform year to year because you have new ones pop up occasionally or some circuits. So out in California, I can't remember exactly who, but there was a merge between two circuits this year. So it's always kind of a an effort to go through all of those websites too and track down information. So yeah, on the back end for WGI, it's kind of crazy. Everyone probably thinks it's some crazy built out system, but in reality, it's just like 6 or 7 Google Sheets workbooks and probably 30 to 40 sheets within all of those combined. And that's what powers the back end of all the score pages. So it's actually not crazy intricate, but just a lot of data to go through and sort of a lot of formulas to build to be able to track and clean everything on the fly. But yeah, I'm always trying to improve the website in terms of finding new tools to use. I do want to make it a bit more mobile friendly. That's kind of the biggest pain point I hear, and especially during Dayton when everyone is, on their phones and trying to trying to look up stuff. So I know that's like one thing I really need to focus on. And then yeah, beyond that, I have past winter I published some record pages for percussion and guard, which is super cool, just kind of showing top scores throughout the years, record scores, most consecutive finals appearances, highest number of champions per class, etc. And then I also have a Substack page linked to my website where I do a decent amount of written work, and that's kind of covering all of the activities. And so I do some longer pieces about like some different ranking, seating analysis type things, and then in the BOA season, that's kind of my main hub too for rankings on how and I'll write some longer articles there about how I'm crafting those and putting those together. So yeah, a lot of different stuff I try to put out there, and it's all getting a lot of work, a lot of fun, labor of love type stuff. So yeah.
No, I get 100% labor of love. I do love the records page you have or tab you have, I should say. Just seeing, the most consecutive finalists and champions per state. Those are fun little nuggets that even I was like, oh, I didn't know this, or
hmm
those are fun things to go see on there.
Yeah, and like so at the end of the season, I put out a whole milestone series too, and that was probably a good example of some Substack content I've put out. A lot of that too was some of those nuggets of like, for example, First Flight was the first guard from North Carolina to win since 2015, and we already talked about Southington being the first Connecticut guard since 2006. There was it was Caledonia, right? An independent A, I believe, was first Michigan guard again from since 2015 to win. So that's always been the other fun piece about this is just trying to find those neat historical achievements that not everyone is aware of and putting that out into the world.
Yeah, I love it. I love all those little interesting tidbits. What are some of the more interesting little tidbits you found, like as you've come across in your time collecting data? Like anything that is like really just blows your mind, or you think
Yeah,
would blow
so
our mind?
I think the stuff I did with seating analysis earlier this year was a lot of fun. So what I did there, I have scores for every WGI regional going back to 2012. So I was able to take all that data and use the current seating system that we have in place, or I should say it's about to change, right, slightly. But I took all that data and did analysis of year over year, like here's how guards finish at Dayton compared to their seating ranking going in. And what I ended up finding was it actually is probably not too surprising, but so obviously guards, it's pretty frequent for guards to shift a number of placements between their seeding ranking and final ranking at Dayton. And but unsurprisingly, for the smaller classes, it's not that big of a shift. So in independent world and scholastic world, it's only about an average of 1.3 to 1.5 that guards are moving between 1.3, 1.5 places that guards are moving between seeding and finals. And then Independent Open is 3, Scholastic Open is 4.5, Independent A 5.5, Scholastic A 11.5. So Scholastic A being 11.5 places on average between seeding and finals placement is kind of crazy. And that, of course, that's going to fluctuate as you move between the rankings, right? Because once you get probably below 50, you're going to have the guards that there's just a lot more variance down there, especially when they're competing at different points in the regional season. Yeah, I know that was a hot topic at the Rules Congress this year, so it was kind of interesting to do that work and then see how it was. I don't think any of it was necessarily influencing any of the proposals this year, but at the same time, it was, again, like I said, a hot topic there.
Yeah, because for color guard, they use the seedings for preliminary round performance time, where drumline and wins don't. I believe drumline is still just the good old fashioned postmark. You register first,
Hmm.
you get the best spot. Back in
Yep.
the day, how we used to work that way. So, with the rules proposals, we did just get the results recently. Were you sweating when you saw those come through, and you're like, "Oh, we want to be no more seedings, just go completely random."
Yeah, it could have gone both ways, right? Because I think on one hand, obviously everyone wants to see the rankings as soon as possible, and I have that. I appreciate everyone kind of looking into that Sunday nights during the regional season. Then on the other hand, it was like, well, if these go away, I could still post them and kind of keep everyone in the loop that way. So it was kind of like best of both worlds almost, but I think the change they made is great, right? Because it's only for Scholastic A's. They're getting rid of the. Do I have that correct?
Correct. It's only for Scholastic A, which I question. So what
Hmm.
they do is, they put everybody into the rounds. Currently, before the rule change, you go into the rounds, and literally each round is 10 color guards. The first five are the lowest five seeds within that round. The second five are the higher five, and then they jumble those two groups of five up individually. So
Hmm.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6 are the first five guards on in some order, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the second half.
Hmm.
Well, with this new proposal, that split is now gone. So you
Hmm.
still get your seeded into a round. So your number one seed's going to get one of the latest rounds and so forth. But now they take that whole round and scramble it up. But they amended it at the meeting, which I didn't catch. And then after they do that, then they're going to scramble the rounds.
Oh, okay. I didn't
So
see
you
that.
you can end up in round 14. You're the number one seed. You get round 14. You get the last spot. They mix it up, and you end up being the second guard to perform in round 14. But then they mix up all the rounds, and that round gets moved to the very first performance time.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
the number one guard could, in theory, be the very first guard on it prelims.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'll be interested to see how that shakes out. I've already kind of thought about like this is a year away already, but like I'm gonna put this data up against this past season once 27 is done and see like did this change significantly? Because I am curious, right? Of like did this change accomplish? And 1 year of data might be too small of a sample size to look at that, but it'll be interesting to see what this change does and who knows if it works well in Scholastic A. I don't know. I don't think I couldn't see them ever doing it in the other classes, right? Because those are a little bit smaller, and especially like Scholastic World, where you only have 25 guards to begin with. I don't see a need for that necessarily, but who's to say? So,
I mean, it's still. I think if it's fair for A, it should be fair for everybody. My personal opinion. I was really surprised that they passed it just for Scholastic A, but then when it came time to apply it to Open and World, all those people voting were like, "Oh no, no, no! I don't want
yeah,
that for me.
yeah,
You can do it to them, but don't do it to me."
yeah.
There was some information within the proposals talking about, I think it's been 3 years, the people, Scholastic A guards in that first half of their rounds have not made finals.
Mm,
All the finalists have come from the back half of each round.
hmm.
So yeah, it would be interesting to go back and how far you can go back to see in performance time if you have access to that. Who
Hmm.
actually was able to make finals out of a first half round spot?
Yeah, and to your point too, yeah, performance data, I don't have data. So I do have schedules from the past couple years, I think still, but I don't know before that. I will say like again, Southington jumping up like they did this year, and then I think it was Lafayette, Missouri. in 25 was the guard that made a huge jump. They were ranked in the 70s going into Dayton and ended up making finals. And that was like a really rare case of a guard jumping that high to get into finals. So yeah, it'll be really interested to see if we get more of that now with this new change, if that's going to kind of make it more fair and even with the performance times. But I don't know, like at the end of the day too, like I think when you get your 9 or 10 guards in a round, like depending on the round and who's all in it, it's sometimes pretty easy to see, who your top 3 or 4 is going to be. And then Scholastic Age is being the bloodbath that it always is. Like you basically have to win your round to even have a shot at finals, which is
Right.
still crazy to me. But yeah, we'll see how it
If
shakes out, I guess.
if you're not breaking 90, you're probably not making finals.
Hmm.
And that's such a wild thing to say. I think all
Hmm.
the finalists this year broke 90 in semis, every single one.
Jeez, it's wild.
That is absolutely wild. Yeah. So with getting into all the rankings and everything, you've been introduced. Now, I don't want to say introduced. You've been around the color guard world. Obviously, you
Hmm.
went to Trumbull, had the great program there. You did drum corps.
Hmm.
Obviously you've been around it, but you've really got to kind of get into all the shows in winter guard. So what was that like getting into like true WGI color guard land?
Yeah, it's been it's been wild. It's a lot of fun. So, I mean, I again, I don't have a guard background, so I'll watch all these shows and be like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if this is if this is good or not, but no, to your point, like, so I again through high school and post high school, I would still like sit down and watch shows, and most of the time I was kind of more interested, to be honest, on the percussion side of things. And so how that used to go is I'd get the fan network like it was back in the day or the flow marching subscription and say, all right, I'm gonna get this for percussion, but well, I have it already, might as well watch guard. And still loved a lot of the stuff I saw in the 2010s. I remember like in college sitting and watching 2010 finals, I think it was Pride of Cincinnati, the Summer Love Show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just being amazed by that. Again, too, being in drum corps, I had a lot of friends that were in Winter Guard as well, so I had a reason to watch them as well. But yeah, I never imagined getting into the weeds this much in terms of watching it all. And yeah, and then being in the Indianapolis area, fortunately, I try to get to a show every now and then. So this past year, I went to the Avon Regional, which was a blast, and I think that was my first show since 22 or 23. So I try to get to either, so they have Warren Central and Avon now here. So one of the two, if I can. I have a toddler, so it kind of makes getting out of the house difficult these days, but I was fortunate to make it work this year. And yeah, the great thing about that, about the Avon show in particular, was basically, I shouldn't say every world finalist is here because it's not true, but like there's something like 7 or 8 of the Scholastic World finalists were at the Avon show. And then in Independent World, it was like Juxta, Onyx, Lexus, somebody else, oh, Phoenix. So yeah, it was kind of a great way to see Guard in person this year without I
And
wasn't able to.
Anasadora went there too, didn't they?
They did, yeah, that's right. Thank you. They were fantastic too. I was so grateful to see them, and making that trip out from Colorado was awesome. Yeah, so it was a great way for me to see Guard in person. I still need to make Dayton work one of these years. It's kind of tricky now because, again, I track scores throughout Dayton. I put up quite a big score content on my Instagram page. So I kind of need to be close to a computer, have reliable Wi-Fi, that sort of thing. So I don't know if I want to commit bringing a laptop into UD Arena where I hear service is spotty at best. But who knows? We'll see if we can make it work one of these days.
You just got to get out to like where the WGI like office is, like where they're doing
Yeah.
all the tabulation, everything. They've got service there.
Well, I even thought about like, well, what if I just like kept my laptop in my car and ran out quickly in between breaks and like grabbed grabbed scores and worked off my laptop from my car and did something crazy like that. But yeah, we'll see if we can make it work somehow.
And I completely understand having a toddler and not being able to get out to shows and everything. Because I
Hmm.
tried taking my daughter and my son at one point to a Winter Guard show, and we were 10 minutes in. Can we go home?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I paid I paid $40 for us to get in here. We're not leaving.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. my young one has been sort of around band. I've brought him to like the warm up lots once at DCI, and he had no interest. It was just wanted to run around the park the entire time. So yeah, I'm excited to see how he grows if he'll get into this crazy band world at all.
I'm sure as he gets a little bit older, he will, especially the drum lines. I mean, I'm sure the
Oh
drum
yeah,
lines, or at
yeah.
least the color guard when all the colors are going around, they're just
Hmm.
like, whoa. So yeah, you got to go to the Avon Regional, which was really cool. I was at the Indy Regional, so I pretty much saw the same lineup. And yeah, I still can't fathom that area. Like just like you said,
Hmm.
all those Scholastic World programs there, just the quality that's out there. It's absolutely insane.
Hmm. When I think the awesome thing about it too is like, so obviously you have Avon and Carmel like almost always near the top, but it's still like very competitive out here too in terms of like Warren Central has been, I think like Warren Central beat Carmel once or twice either this year or the previous year, and Northview is always in the mix, and so like it's just really awesome to see all those guards pushing each other and then in turn pushing the rest of the activity. Because you have world guard like Tarpon, for example, they basically, I shouldn't say they don't see nobody because they'll, sometimes see the Miami area guards at some of their regionals, but some of these other guards, they just don't have. A perfect example is actually Trumbull. They would actually come out to the indie regional once or twice just to get in front of some of the other guards and be able to be put up against some other competition going into Dayton. So yeah, very blessed to be in an area with such quality band program, and then obviously having BOA and DCI finals in the backyard is awesome. It's a wonderful area to be here for band.
Yeah, something going on year round. We love it. Yeah. And I know Kiski area and Norwin, they like to make that indie trip now too for the exact same reason. They're like, let's get out of our circuit. Let's go see how we really stack up against these groups. And yeah, I think, yeah, Tarpon, they're in Tampa area, nobody really around them. And then you have Shenendehowa, obviously, they're kind of isolated. And even I think Arcadia, well, no, they have El Dorado in the area, I believe. So
Ayala and Chino Hills too.
yeah.
Yeah, to Ayala.
I'm not too keen on California geography. I know some couple areas, but
Hmm.
so you track data for all three percussion, winds, and guard. You're working on the winds historical stuff you said.
Hmm.
But I noticed you seem to just like looking through your Instagram content, you seem to kind of personally follow the scoring and everything. You kind of have a good idea of who's doing what, especially in percussion land. Is that kind of your favorite? And you can say it. It's totally fine. I know it's a Color Guard
Yeah.
podcast, but you can totally say it. But I just when I see what you're posting, like you seem to be very much in the know and the ins and outs of drumline.
Hmm. Yeah, I think like in the historic context too, I would say I'm much more familiar with some of their past champions and whatnot. And percussion is a whole different world because like Southern California runs that division. It's crazy. Just you had like top three in both independent. No, I guess not independent world because Rhythm X won this year, but it's basically almost every year top three in independent Scholastic World is from that area. And so yeah, I do track it a little bit more closely. So yeah, and I know you mentioned earlier, percussion doesn't do rankings like Guard does, the seating rankings. So what I do with them is I actually still apply the same sort of 1.5 points per week logic to percussion that I do Guard. But then the other thing I did different this year for them was I actually took local circuit scores as well, because in percussion what happens, a lot of those groups only do one, maybe two WGI regionals a year. So it's for me, I thought it was better to have a little bit more recent data in there to be able to compare things a bit more. So it was interesting to see how that all evolved this year and see the reactions to some of those posts. But so yeah, it was interesting to see too how percussion ended up shaking out. I didn't do the same seating analysis that I did for guard in percussion, so I don't know quite where like if there was huge shifts from regional season to finals, but percussion had a great year too, and Rhythm X set a record score in independent world. I think it was like the third. third time in 4 years or something like that that a new record score was set in independent world. And then Ayala just last year set the new record for all marching percussion with a 99.5, I believe. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to see where that side of the activity has been going and how they're doing the past few years.
Yeah, Rhythm X and RCC have just been pushing each other back
Hmm.
and forth. I mean, yeah, just 'cause they broke the record last year because they both
Hmm.
broke 99. I remember that.
Yep.
And then it's just, and I think percussion, there's a concert percussion group that has the highest score across all divisions of WGI.
Hmm. Yes. Ooh, I'm going to.
It's a concert percussion group, right?
Yeah, Woodbridge set that record in 2012 with a 99.6. So, and then yeah, like I said, Ayala 99.5 last year. So they only came within a tenth of that. And then Vista Marietta, even this past year, I can't remember their exact score, but they broke 99 as well in concert percussion. That was, I believe, the first 99 in concert percussion since Woodbridge in 2012. So, yeah, just record scores getting shattered all over the place over in percussion land.
Yeah, and the record guard score is 99.55, so that's just behind Woodbridge High School for all of
Hmm.
WGI. And we might see percussion scores change because there was a lot of proposals about the weights of theirs because I don't
Hmm.
fully understand their scoring, but I was reading through their proposals to see what passed and everything. And I noticed they had a lot that were addressing the weighting of the score because that could have like the visual scores and stuff. So that could affect numbers at the end of the day, and we might see scores drop just because of that.
So, if I understand correctly, too, they are also going to a quad panel next year for independent world and scholastic world, and just for finals in Dayton. But that would be, I can't remember exactly the number of judges. I think it's
I think
five on a panel.
I wasn't sure if it was five or four or five.
But regardless, a quad panel
Quad panel.
is kind of crazy to me. So I can't wait to see how that shakes out. And yeah, so to your point, yeah, we might see things start to get reined in a little bit more next year. But yeah, again, just crazy how everything's going over there.
Yeah. So yeah, if you even in this color guard podcast, you should definitely check out what the percussion and wind groups are doing, especially in the proposals. Always interesting ideas. I mentioned it before. Like percussion was looking at introducing a new class. They wanted a class between open and world, which honestly I think we might need in color guard too. Obviously, it didn't pass, but things like that because WGI likes to keep things consistent across the divisions in certain aspects. So things that happen over there could trickle over here. Do you have a favorite division to watch? Again, you don't have to pick color guard. You will not offend. You won't offend us.
Honestly, though, like percussion and winds don't come at me with your pitchforks. You guys have gotten a little stale in the past couple years,
We
and no, everyone is doing fantastic work. Like you said, Rhythm X and RCC is really pushing everyone in that side of the activity. And even you'll see it trickle down into DCI and BOA and stuff. WGI Guard is doing stuff too that's making its way over into that world. So yeah, it's always interesting to see how everything kind of commingles like that. But yeah, Guard has gotten to be a huge blast to follow. And I think the biggest thing for me with Guard is there's just such a wide variety of shows. And I always say it's like something for everyone. And that even goes into the musical selections and kind of being a music person, did, horn line and drum corps and whatnot. Music is kind of the piece that I resonate most with when I watch guard shows. And I just love the variety that people are bringing to the activity now in terms of just a wide variety of genres, show themes, tricks, props, you name it. Like, and there's just like so much happening on the floor now. Like putting it up against shows that, in the 2000s, going back to my high school days and whatnot. It's just crazy how much it's all evolved in the past 15, 20 years.
Absolutely. I look at my old DVDs and I'll watch them like, oh, I love this show. And it's an independent world from like 2005. And I'm like, I don't even know if this would make finals in A class. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, wow, it's
Yeah,
20 years ago. And it's
exactly.
crazy how much it's changed. And
Hmm.
I think color guard could learn a lot from percussion because I watched Independent World Percussion 2 years ago and I watched a little bit this year and just some of the GE things they do. And
Hmm.
they get so creative with props. And I think they have to be more creative because they are so limited on space. I mean, the
Hmm.
front ensemble takes up a huge chunk of the floor. And then, they've got these giant instruments strapped to their bodies. So they can't do all the body things that color guard people can do. They just can't.
Hmm.
They've got these 50-pound instruments strapped to them. So they find other ways to be creative and to get all these effects in. And I don't remember which I almost said guard, which drum line it was last year, but they had the props that they were like reaching through and doing this hand stuff. It might have been whoever came in second. Was that Rhythm X? Because RCC won.
Yeah. Yep, I know what you're
But,
talking about. That
but I
the
just
like.
remember being dumbfounded by their prop usage. I'm like, this is really freaking cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I think again across all activities, drum corps too, you see the staging that I mean, no one's marching real, I shouldn't say real drill. No one's marching traditional drill anymore. It's all like staged in terms of like we need this horn line, this part of the horn line here to do this feature, and then they're going to scatter drill to over here to join the rest of the horn line, and then you have guards scattered around, and then props, and like it's crazy how it all fits together now. And again, it's awesome to see how much the activity is influencing itself and continuing to evolve that way.
I agree. Many, many, many people, I think you said mentioned about 15,000 follow you on Instagram. I know you're
Hmm.
pretty active there. And I know you like to do kind of like questions to the public and kind of like AMA
Hmm.
kind of things. And I've noticed you're very much a good vibes guy like me. And I've seen through many of your post interactions. And I was curious, do you get pushback on being too positive like I do sometimes?
No, not necessarily. I do it to a fault though sometimes, I'll be honest, because I'll put out these prompts and I'll get I don't know like 150 replies. I can't reply to all of them because it's just way too much. And no one wants to scroll through a Instagram story with with that many things. And but, like a lot of the replies would be like, "Have you seen so and so guard?" Or like, "What do you think about this show?" And I'm like, I would love to answer you. I don't have time to watch 300 plus shows at Dayton. So I really wish I could even do more, if that makes sense. But I like to add a personal touch to my page just because, like, at the end of the day, it's data. Data can be boring. It's numbers, math, scores. Like, so I do want to, like, remind people that there's there's a person behind here. There's somebody who actually follows the activity, knows what's going on, and it kind of like it translates to how I follow and watch shows too, in terms of I will always try to find at least one thing about a show that I like. I don't obviously like every show that I watch, but I go into every production saying like, all right, here's what I'm going to look for, and make sure I clap for the right moments, clap for the flags, obviously.
Yes,
And
clap for the flags.
again, it's funny that I run this page with scores, data, objective content. Like, here's where the rankings fall. But at the end of the day, like we're all doing this for fun. Like that's what it should be about. And I just like to remind people of that when I put out stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. I I hear it too. I mean, I will voice my opinion on things I don't agree with, especially if it's not targeted at a group. I disagreed with some of the proposals and things. So I will put that information out there, but I'm not going to, like you, I don't like every show I watch, but I can find the positive in it. And
Mhm.
then, you address the positive, but some people are like, you're too nice. You're too saccharine. I'm like, I can be shady, but I don't think you want me to be shady because then I'm going to talk about
Hmm.
your group and then you're going to be mad at me. And I'm
Hmm.
like,
Yep.
you can't have it both ways.
Yep. Yep.
What's the biggest thing that surprised you throughout this whole bandScores project? Anything that's kind of like maybe people that you've interacted with or just something that you've kind of stumbled along the way? Anything that's really surprised you? Like I can say when I started the podcast and then, you
Hmm.
know, like you, it was a passion project for me. I was like, I want to talk about color guard because I tried the whole creating an independent guard. It failed because of this area just it wasn't
Hmm.
going to happen. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll do a podcast thing. And then I find out down the road of people are just giving me names like, oh yeah, I was talking to so and so, like big names in the activity, and they were talking about the podcast. I'm like, they listened to it. Like it was
Hmm.
just like it was like wow, it was like an honor. So it's like it was like oh
So yeah, for me, I think how much. great reception I've gotten about the project and from a wide variety of places you wouldn't expect. I mean, so obviously all the members and kids and students and whatnot love to see the rankings and follow the page for that purpose. And then I'll get band parents, same thing. And then every now and then I'll see like such and such winter guard followed your page and it's like, oh, that's really cool. And of the independent world guards, I have quite a few of those that follow the page and even have a lot of great interactions with them as well. I'll message the Fusion page. I was in touch with them after they won this year and congratulated them. So yeah, it's been awesome. And I'll even have some staff members reach out to of like, hey, we had a question about how seating works, or we got this score. Like, what do you think this means for our chances in Dayton, sort of stuff like that. And so it's really cool to see that people are using the site and data and all that for a variety of purposes. So it's been fun to again create a resource for the activity that's being used by, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people. And it's I keep saying labor of love. That's really what it is, and really honored and blessed that people are enjoying the content that I put out there.
Yeah. Even though you like to keep yourself kind of in the background, behind the scenes kind of thing, you're a pretty popular person.
Yeah.
We were talking beforehand, and you have mentioned that you're more of a DCI person. You know a lot about DCI history, so and you brought up the idea of kind of doing a DCI preview as we head
Yeah.
into the DCI season. So let's talk some drum corps if you'd like.
Yeah. Absolutely. Would love to.
So we'll talk kind of a smattering of things, but just first off, do you have a favorite DCI show?
No. No, I like honestly that goes back to what I said earlier of like there's just so many good shows out there that it's hard to pick one. I think for me, I'll kind of pick from different eras if that makes sense because like again with how much the activities has evolved, it's almost unfair to put up shows from the 90s and 2000s to what's going on today. But
No, I agree completely. I'm the same way with indoor. People are like, what's your favorite indoor show? I'm like, I don't have one. Like, there's way too many to pick from.
yeah, but no, to fangirl for a second, I big Cavaliers fan from the early 2000s. I know you marched there, so
I did.
so very I loved a lot of those championship shows, Vanguard too for that matter, 90s, early 2000s Vanguard, like just some fantastic shows in that era. And then Bluecoats, what Bluecoats have been doing, I guess pretty much for a decade now, ever since, well, I guess Tilt was sort of the show that put them on the map in terms of it was their first second place finish. They did, a lot of innovative work with sound design that year. And then 2 years later, Downside Up being the one that everyone points at of like, oh, this is the show of here's the reason why we don't have hats and bandits anymore and giant props and all that. But at the same time, like that type of innovation was going to happen regardless. And for Blue Coats to do it and then just keep running with it ever since has been awesome. And then even now since the pandemic and seeing how cores have sort of adapted to the changing landscape of just the world in general of like things are a lot more tight financially and we need to be a lot smarter about how we run our operation and how does that influence the rest of the core and what and the product that you see on the field. And so I think cores are doing a great job of adapting to that world and still putting out productions that are very accessible and obviously it's very competitive. So yeah, like I said, not a favorite show, but sort of different eras that I kind of point at of like here's a handful of shows I like here, handful here, and then every now and then a core will kind of surprise me as well. So for example, Pacific Crest, they're kind of a core who has they've never made finals in their 25 30 year history, something like that. And the past few years, they've really kind of came out of nowhere and have been pushing for a finalist spot. And I really enjoy seeing what they've been doing too. So I'll even get some cores that kind of surprise me like that and really buy into what they're doing as well.
Yeah, I love the out of nowhere. You in color guard, that happens. You're like this
Hmm.
guard, like, whoa, they made finals. Like, where'd they come from? And
Hmm.
honestly, kind of like Fusion. Like Fusion, you look back like 5, 6 years ago, all of a sudden they make finals and they make that big jump to fourth, and you're like, oh, who's this? And I
Hmm.
feel like Mandarins kind of did the same thing in DCI,
Yes.
because when I marched, they were Div 3 core, very,
Hmm.
very small, and they've just worked their way. And then all of a sudden they're like top six, 6 or 7. And I use 6 or 7 all the time for interchanging things. And because of my kids, every time I say it, I have to stop and like wait. um, so speaking of Mandarins, pick your brain on this one. So since they're not out this year, who do you think takes their spot in finals? Who
Oh,
gets in?
goodness. So this kind of ties in with some historic data analysis I've done with drum corps. I have found that pretty much every season since 2000, every season, with the exception of like 3 or 4 years, there has been a new core to make finals that wasn't in finals the year before. So if that trend continues, we're obviously going to see somebody make finals who wasn't in last year to replace Mandarins, but we might even see another core jump up there as well. But yeah, I think to me, honestly, like the battle for 12th place has almost been more interesting to follow for me competitively the past few years than the top three, just because it's always been so back and forth. And like, so for example, this past year it was Blue Knights who got back in after a few years out of finals, and then the year before that it was Scouts, and Scouts hadn't been in since 2017, and then like I said, Pacific Crest, and then Spirit of Atlanta too has been knocking on the door for a couple years now. So kind of a long-winded answer, but I have no idea who's gonna jump up there. But yeah, I think it would be great to see Pacific Crest make it because they haven't made finals before. It would be great to see Spirit since they haven't been in since 2013, I believe. So yeah, a lot of fun underdog stories to root for this summer.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I know some people that are at Spirit and Pacific Crest once again been around a long time. And then what's the other group that's out of Seattle Cascades? That's who I'm thinking of. I always get
Hmm.
Pacific Crest and Seattle Cascades mixed up.
Hmm.
I like to see Seattle Cascades make a run again. I believe they've made finals, but I think that was a long time ago,
Hmm.
like
Early
back in when I
2000s.
was marching. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think I do remember. I think I might even have them on a DVD up there. I might, because I have the 2002 and 3 DVDs up there. I'm old. Do you think BD returns the top three this year?
I We'll see. I think so, but I mean, I think there's so much parity now in the activity because what BD hasn't won now for 2 years. Boston won for their first time ever last year. Bluecoats won 2 years ago. Um, and then Vanguard too. Vanguard kind of came out of nowhere last year for me, and that was a very interesting story too because so they took 23 off. 24, I really enjoyed 24. I know not everyone does. It's kind of a weird out there show. The whole like lack of props, I guess. People are like, oh, this is different and not a lot going on. But no, I really liked him. And to me, it seemed like 24, like, kind of main goal was like just getting back on the field, getting back into finals, which was great. Like, they accomplished that. And then wasn't expecting the jump that they had in 25, but the avant-garde show was fantastic. And I think like could be even a dark horse for winning this year, Vanguard. But
Ooh,
so I think again, just there's so much parity that obviously you can't count out BD and the success they've had over the past few decades of always rising to the occasion. And they're going to be up there, but again, there's just so much parity now in the activity that who knows what's going to happen.
agreed. Yeah, I did like Vanguard last year, and I like that they did have some props on the field. They had the
Hmm.
poles and the hats. I called them the nipple hats. They look like nipples when they pulled them down on their head. I'm like, did we think this all the way through
Yeah.
with this pink? Who do you think is going to surprise people this year? Do you think anybody's going to make a big jump or maybe even dare to say a big drop? I
Yeah, so I think Blue Stars are probably one to watch. Their horn line has come a long way the past few years, and so they have an interesting history, right? Because they were one of the founding members of DCI back in the 70s and 80s. They finished second at the very first championships in 72, and then kind of disappeared for a while, returned as a Div 3 core in the 90s, and kind of worked their way back up and then made finals again in 2008. And since then, they're always in that like 8 to 12 range in finals. They got seventh in 22, I believe, either 2022 or 2023, and still haven't broken into that top six yet. So I think to me, that's kind of the dark horse for this year. And I mentioned Vanguard earlier, of course. And I think like Cavaliers too, like they've been kind of an interesting story the past few years, have undergone some staff changes and made a big jump last season. So I'll be rooting for them too to get back up there because again, growing up of drum corps in the early 2000s, like Cavaliers were at the top of the activity, and it'd be great to see them up there again.
Agreed. Bring back another metal boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do know I talked to somebody at Cabby's. I don't remember who it was, but I know that they felt like they were they were in this process of like re-solidifying the design team. And then I believe last year they're like, okay, we have the team in place now. And so
Hmm.
now they can really start to progress because when you have that revolving door of staff in
Hmm.
any organization, it's a struggle to keep the organization at a top level. So now they have their team locked in. It'll be really nice to see how they do. And I'll be rooting for them, obviously, as an alumni. And my previous core is no longer in existence, so they're the only one I have to root for. So
Hmm.
Blue Coats is doing the West Coast tour this year,
Hmm.
and we
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that goes. I think I can't remember the last time a like Midwest or East Coast core has done the California trip.
well, Boston did
Boston.
it last year.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that. Yeah,
Because that's
one.
kind of like the golden charm. You do the West Coast tour and you
Hmm.
win. I think that's been a trend like the past couple of years. Because didn't Blue Coats do it a couple of years before?
No,
Yeah.
24 Blue Coats, I think, broke that trend. Yeah.
Okay.
But you are correct that before that it was like 18 Vanguard. Well, Vanguard was from California, obviously, in 18 when they won. I think Blue Coats in 2016 when they won. I don't think they did a West Coast trip, but yeah, it's one of those things that it's a bit more rare these days, but it'll be great to see them go out there and get up against the competition early because of course too with like how much the activities change, like a lot of cores are only doing 18 to 22 shows now. So like you really need to make every show count and if you want to be in the mix competitively, like you only have a certain number of chances and then San Antonio for that matter, San Antonio is pretty much the only time everyone is together before championships now. And that's been the case for the past couple of years, but yeah, I think cores are just trying to be smart about that if they want to be competitive and go up against competition. And so yeah, we'll see how Blue Coats.
So the cores have started releasing their performance schedules, and I'm like, you're going to like 15 shows. It's so wild. Like I remember when I marched, I
Hmm.
mean, 30, 40 plus performances. And I'm like, it's just they perform so much less. And I'm like, that was the best part of just being going out to the shows and performing in
Hmm.
all the stadiums. And
Hmm.
I do miss that. I don't miss the heat. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed my time spinning and performing, but I hate it. You get that field, and because everybody who's marched drum corps remembers that day. Like every
Hmm.
corps has that day. And
Hmm.
I remember when I marched cavies one year, we stayed at the school, and the field we were practicing on was almost like a mile walk from the school from where we were staying. And then we get there, and there's no grass. It's razor blades that are growing
No.
out of the ground.
Yeah.
And there's no clouds to be found. It's 100 degrees, and you're just like, ugh. And I'm like, why am I paying to do this?
Yeah. No, yeah, I think our my example of that was it would have been right after a couple of days after the San Antonio regional. So now every year is kind of set up the same, right? You go to San Antonio 3 weeks before finals, and you make your trip down through it. They call it Swamp Tour because you go through Louisiana,
Oh, the
Alabama,
Louisiana stretch.
yep,
Oh God.
and then you go back up the coast. But So yeah, I think ours, my that day story was similar in nowhere, Louisiana. It was like one of those you get onto the football field. It's so damp from the humidity that you step on the ground and just a puddle of water comes up. And of course, we're expected to rehearse on this field that turns into a mud pit by the end, and then go to the showers, find out the showers are like a complete disaster, and it's like, nope, I'm just gonna go to the food truck and hose down here because I don't want to deal with whatever is nastiness is in this shower. And then yeah, drum corps, it's a crazy activity. The parts of the country you see
Yeah.
and the stories you go through, but it was a great experience. So
Yeah, God, I remember Swamp Tour area. Oh God, you cannot describe the humidity down there. It's
yeah.
just it is bad, y'all. It is
Hmm.
bad. I remember that, and then we did a rehearsal in North Dakota, and because everything there is perfectly flat, and it was like 30-mile-an-hour winds, and we're outside, and we're doing our run through before our performance, and the I was in the flag line at Cavies, and we had this toss where we had to release behind us, and there's 18 of us in the flag line, and I'm like, I'm not releasing this. Like it's going to fly away. So 18 flags are spinning, 17 go in the air and go flying 20 yards, and I cheated it and just kind of kept it in my hands. And fast forward to the end of the run through, and our instructors and caption head comes down and starts screaming at the flag line for dropping the toss. And they're like, Eric caught it. Why couldn't anybody else caught it? And I'm just sitting there like,
Uh,
because I didn't release it.
yeah,
But yeah, it's like you go like, oh, you get North Dakota. It's like I see a high school football field
yeah,
in North
exactly.
North Dakota.
Yeah, my favorite story is like I'll tell people that I've been to like 40 out of the 50 states, but here's 20 of those that I Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama of like, yep, I stayed at a high school and that's pretty much all I saw. But I'm gonna still count it as I've been to the States. So
Absolutely,
yeah.
yeah. I got to perform in a stadium there. It counts, right? And I
Mhm.
slept on some nasty gym floor with roaches crawling around.
Yep.
Ah, but it's a lot of fun, y'all. If you're ever thinking about doing a drum corps, it is a lot of fun.
Hmm.
I don't know how you're going to afford it now, but
That's
ugh,
another story, but
that is another story. My age out was $900 at Cabby's.
yeah, I was a couple more thousands in that, but not as bad as what it is today. I think it's about double today of what I
Yeah,
paid, so it's rough.
pretty much all the corps are right around 7 grand.
Yeah,
It's
jeez. Hmm.
crazy, absolutely crazy. Do you have any interesting data metrics you think that might give us a hint about this upcoming season, or anything you might have looked
Yeah.
at?
So going back to my Substack page, about this time last year, I put out a whole piece of like it was called "How to Predict the Drum Corps Season" or something like that. And I'm a lurker on the Drum Corps Reddit. Well, I shouldn't say lurker because I do post there with my bandScores page, some of the content there. But every now and then I'll see posts on that page on the subreddit of like, here's my predictions of top 12, and it's like all this like jumbled like, oh, I think Blue Devils are gonna finish sixth, and I don't know, some core who was in eighth last year is gonna be top three, and it's like, all right, let's slow our rolls, let's be a little bit more realistic about what's gonna happen here. So I put out this piece last year that basically looked, I guess it was kind of similar to what I did with the seating analysis, but instead I took a core's prior year placement versus a current year placement and kind of stacked those up. And so that was how I found that metric of there being a new finalist pretty much every season. But then I also found that, so surprisingly, only 40% of cores, and this is standard of finalists, non-finalists, pretty much across the board. So 40% of cores finish in the same placement as the year prior. So it's more frequently possible to change placement from the year prior. However, a vast majority of that is only shifting by one or two placements. So, and then you look at champions for that matter, and I think since 2000, the only champions that were below third place the year prior was 2011 cadets. So they were, I think, fifth in 2010. And then 2008 Phantom Regiment of their huge comeback story during finals week. But they were fourth in 2007. So every other year besides those two, the champion was in top three the year before. So kind of by that guidance, we can say that it'll possibly be Blue Coats, Boston, or Vanguard. but again, can't count out Blue Devils, so they could be in the mix. And we'll see how the rest of the season shakes out. But it'll be interesting to see if those trends stick. Like obviously with data, what I've learned about the data world is like you aggregate all this information together and it's like, here's what's probably going to happen based on prior year trends, but it's not always going to happen. So who knows? Maybe we'll have some craziness this year, but that's kind of like what I'm looking at when I think of like how things are going to shake out this year.
Troopers win.
Yeah.
Go bold.
Yep. Yep.
Big jump from Troopers.
Yep.
Shout out to the couple kids I know marching at Troopers. Any other DCI thoughts? I do. So you are doing a current project of like the
Mm-hmm.
top 100 scores, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so this year I thought it would be fun and it ended up being a huge undertaking that I was not prepared for. So it kind of, I shouldn't say I regret doing this, but it's been a big project. But yeah, I saw this year and I was like, oh, we're exactly a quarter of the way through the century, 25 years in. Now, 2 of those years we didn't have shows. 2020 was canceled, and then 2021 was the celebration year without scores. But I thought it was still kind of a cool kind of quarter-way point to say, all right, let's look at the top 100 shows of the current century. And obviously, everyone knows that Blue Devils 2014 hold the record. Before that, it was tied 2002 Cavaliers and '05 Cadets. And but then I was like, well, no one really knows like how the rest of the the results stand and where certain shows stand within a greater context. So yeah, I put together basically the top 100 cores. I split it out against 10 parts. I'm posting 2 parts a week, Mondays and Thursdays, and then I have some written pieces on Substack about it too, and just thoughts about some of the shows and kind of serving as a countdown in a way to the upcoming season. So yeah, it's been a fun project. And then yeah, once the season starts going again, I'll probably put together another a score page for the current season and then have some other content planned. We'll see. So here's the thing with my project, right? I have all these wonderful ideas that I put together and have a huge notes document in my phone of like just random stuff that I'll think of, and sometimes I get to it, sometimes I don't. It's just like whatever I have time and want to prioritize, but definitely plan on covering the season in some capacity this year, putting out content, and then DCI is just always crazy too because it's such a short season now of like it's basically a month and a half, and then once it's done, and then you look at the calendar and it's like, oh, neat, there's a month until BOA. Now we have to get ready for BOA. So it's just kind of all back to back, but yeah, it's kind of what I have working on, planned, all that for the summer. So
Yeah. And before any of you try to get salty about his top 100 shows, it is an objective
yes,
thing. It's
should have
the
mentioned that.
literal top 100 scores. It's not him ranking what he thinks the
Mhm.
best shows are. It's literally based off score data.
Yep, yep.
I've already seen some comments on some of your
Yeah.
posts or like, why did you put them at 84? And you're like,
Yeah.
it's because that's where they
Well,
fall
then,
numerically.
yeah, it's always been a fun learning for me too of like I need to be a little bit more explicit with how I explain things and knowing that sometimes everyone doesn't read everything that I put out there and making sure it's obvious of how I present my content. But it's
Yeah.
no, it's all good. Like I enjoy the engagement and again just putting out all the stuff that I do.
Yeah. Reading comprehension, y'all. Read what before you start commenting, just read what people are posting. Cause I get the same thing too. I did one top 10 list. I'm like, never again.
Yep.
Because people thought I was saying the best shows of all time. And I was just ranking what I thought were the most iconic shows. Where like you see them and you're like, I know that show, or ones that were impactful on the activity.
Mm-hmm.
And people got really salty about me not picking certain groups. And this show was so good. How could you not pick it? I'm like, it's a great show, but it's not. You don't understand what my metrics were.
Yeah.
I didn't pick my top 10 favorites because those were not my top 10 favorites. But yeah, just read people. So yeah, I won't be doing
Mm-hmm.
any more top 10 lists. I'm like, I was like, I'm gonna enter my Miss Mojo here. Nope, nope. Miss Mojo can do all that. How can people support you if they wish to? Because like you said, it's a labor of love, and
Hmm.
just like I do with the podcast, it's all self-funded, and I'm
Hmm.
sure everything you're doing is self-funded as well. So if people did want to contribute to help you out,
Yeah.
what's the way they can do that?
So I have a buy me a coffee page. It's linked on my link tree on my Instagram bio. So that's probably the best way. Yeah, to your point, it is pretty self-funded, so I do put some of my own money in just to be able to, subscribe to tools or whatever that makes my life easier with some of the score collecting for the website too is some hosting fees there. So I'm fortunate that I've gotten some contributions there that have helped offset some of those costs. But yeah, if anyone would love to support me there, I'd be grateful. But yeah, again, it's just a labor of love and kind of a resource for the activity, and really grateful for everyone's support to this point. And we'll see where it goes in the next few years.
Can you do any band scores merch?
I've thought about it. I don't know. Do people really want to wear like, so actually, no, that is a good question because somebody asked about stickers. And I was like, oh, that would be a good idea because stickers are, pretty easy to make, or you go to, there's like 1,000 different websites you can go to now of order your custom stickers, and they're pretty low cost.
I could put you right next to Revival on my cup.
Oh, yeah. So maybe, yeah, maybe that will come. And but yeah, for now, as far as supporting goes, the Buy Me a Coffee page is about the main source.
So if you want to help support and thank you for all your hard work, that's the way you can do that,
Yeah, thank you.
because all the content is free. And just like me here, so I don't have a buy me a coffee page, but maybe I should get one.
Hmm.
Like I don't want to be like, give me money, but I'm like, I gotta pay $160 for my Zoom license, and then the
Hmm.
podcasting hosting service. It's like
Hmm.
all that adds up. So
Yep. Yep.
well, before I let you go, I do
Hmm.
want to ask you one question. What
Hmm.
was your favorite show from WGI 26?
All right. This is a question I came prepared for. I have quite a few notes here, and I have percussion too. So
Oh,
if that's
yes.
okay, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
So Fusion, I loved Fusion. Kind of funny story. Both, let me go to my next show. My next show is Juxtaposition. So both Fusion and Juxtaposition, I went into the season seeing when the shows were announced. So Fusion did Appalachian Spring, and then Juxtaposition, it was Think Different and all that. And when the shows came out, I was like, oh, these kind of seem like they've been done before, or like Appalachian Spring, like so many cores have performed this in the past. But then, like, again, it's like you watch these shows, try to find something that you like, and it just kind of builds and grows from that. And Juxtaposition, especially by the end of the season, like, I watched that show on YouTube and Flow like a number of times, and still by finals, there was things that I'm like, I have never seen this before, and I've watched this show plenty of times, and I like even saw them in Avon. So yeah, I really loved what they were doing. And then Fusion was just so elegant and beautiful, and like such a straightforward, simple concept, and just how they executed. And man, like finals night was such a blast watching because everyone had such fantastic runs. And like when Fusion and Paramount ended, I was like, both of these shows are fantastic. I have no idea who's gonna win. I want Fusion, and I was really really glad to see them win. And then yeah, hearing them come on your show a few weeks ago just added to hearing all the stories of how far they've come in the past few years has been really great. So much love for those shows. Arcadia was fantastic. In my notes, I have Arcadia because duh.
Yeah, yep.
Um,
Duh.
just all the cool stuff they were doing.
That
And
was by
then,
far the most creative show this year
yes,
by a
absolutely.
mile. I'm like, one, who came up with that idea? Like, I would love to get in the design meeting in that. And two,
Hmm.
like actually putting that on the floor and the kids just being able to do all of that. Like, so,
Hmm.
so freaking cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And then yeah, back to th Southington. Just wonderful to see Connecticut Guard win again, and that whole story. It was their first time ever at Dayton. And right, I know you spoke to the director, and they and shared on the show that they weren't even they were just hoping to make finals, and then to see them win. And
And that was part of their 4-year plan. So I know a lot of young directors out there, maybe they were like, you know what, our first year we'll stay local. Second year we'll try a regional. Third year we'll go to like a big regional. And then fourth year we're going to go to Dayton. And this was year 4 of their plan. and they'd set that out for themselves and they end up winning.
Yeah, yeah. So fantastic story, and the show itself, I kind of equate it to Voila from Avon because being a music person, that's kind of the thing I'm drawn to first. And I remember watching the 24 opening ceremony and Celine's performance there and just being blown away by that performance. I'm like, this is going to be an Agard show one of these days. And sure enough, 2 years later, here we are. And then like when I say I put it up against Voila too, because if you ever go onto YouTube and search the source material for that show, it's I can't recall the young girl's name who sang that piece, but like if you guys have not seen the YouTube video of that performance and Celine's performance at Paris for that matter, both are just incredible musically talented, gifted singers, and to put that material in guard shows that were just beautiful and elegant. And obviously, both shows won their class in their respective years. So, yeah, again, really glad to see Southington win. And then, yeah, I think in Independent A, Caledonia was a big favorite of mine too. And going back to the Avon Regional, that was the first show I saw of the day. Again, first show I'd been to in a few years, and walking into the gym, and here's this guard like 30 members in Independent A and like huge energetic show and
Neon green
mhm,
sequins and
yeah, just a lot of fun. And so I was glad to see them do to win in Independent A this year. And then percussion, Rhythm X, RCC, we talked about them earlier, top of the class. And then back again to the Southern California area, those four schools, Ayala, Arcadia, Chino Hills, Vista Marietta. So if you guys hadn't followed the percussion scores this year, those were like all back and forth all season. Like Ayala was sitting in fourth at one point one season. They ended up winning. Arcadia won a few shows in their local circuit and were close to medaling. So the things that the percussion groups in Southern California are doing is mind blowing, and all of them were great this year. So yeah, kind of long winded answer, but that was a fantastic year for 2026 WGI.
no, we love it. And for percussion Scholastic World, how many of the finalists were from California? I remember it was like an obscene
Oh
number.
yeah, it was nine, I believe, and I think I put out a either a post or Instagram story about it. I think it was like the first time ever in any WGI division, so wins percussion guard that. So if the number is correct, it was nine. First time that nine groups from one state had made a single class finals. So just mind blowing. And then like there was three or four from Texas, and then you had like Avon and Center Grove from Indiana. So it was three states in Scholastic World Finals, and just goes to show how crazy those groups are out there.
Yeah, I saw that note. I think I might have seen it on the WGI subreddit, and they were just like nine of the finalists are all from. I'm like, wow,
Hmm.
that's crazy. Although I do say if Texas could somehow get all of their guards to go to Dayton one year, if Texas swarmed Dayton for color guard, you'd have the same situation
Oh yeah, I'm
where
sure. Hmm.
tons of Texas guards finals, but it's hard for them to get up there. So,
Hmm.
but well, I thank you for being here. This was a
Yeah,
lot of
thanks so
fun.
much.
So, website is bandscores.net, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And then that is your same Instagram handle, or is it just bandscores?
Bandscores on Instagram. Yep. And then the Substack page is bandscores.substack.com. And then yeah, I have like Twitter and Threads, but nobody uses those anymore. So yeah, Instagram is kind of my main content page these days. But yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of fun being here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be looking forward to all the data tracking information coming down the road.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Okie dokie. That's going to do it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you show him some support as he does so much for us, and it's all completely out of his own pocket. Links to his Buy Me a Coffee page and some of the shows we talked about can be found within the show notes. I'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. So until then, stay safe, stay fabulous, and remember at the end of the day, it's just flags in a gym.